This week, we're going to start by outlining our historical narratives. We're going to be using the story map to help guide our outline. First, you want to fill in the following to brainstorm and outline the details of your story. The title. Remember, a title is the name you give your story. It should be creative and give a hint as to what the story is about. If you can't think of a title right away, that's okay. You can do it at the end. Next, we're going to work on the setting, where it takes place. Remember, setting is where the story takes place. It's also when the story takes place, meaning the time period of the story. For example, the story Doris is Coming, the setting is Louisville, Kentucky in the early 1960s. Next, you want to fill out the characters. Remember, characters are the people in the story. They are the ones who the story is about. Be sure to include dialogue in your narrative, which is the characters talking. You can also tell the characters' inner thoughts. For historical narrative, you need to include at least one real-life person as a character in your story. The real person can be a minor character, meaning they're just mentioned once or twice in the story. Next, you want to identify the problem. Remember, the problem is the conflict in the story. It's essentially what the story is about. The problem tells the plot what the story is about. The problem can be simple or complex. An example of a historical narrative problem would be participating in bus boycotts to help end segregation, as was the problem in Rosa Refuses. Next, you want to outline the events in your story. Now, remember, there's 5 listed, but you can always list more than 5 in your own outline. The events are what make the story. They're what happens in the story. They're also what lead up to the solution or the ending of the story. When outlining your story, identify what will be the big events of your story. For example, Charlie Brown dropping his toast on the table is not a big event. The beam of the ship breaking is a big event. Finally, you're going to come up with the solution to your story. This is how the problem is solved or how the story ends. So remember, the solution tells the reader how the story ends. It gives a conclusion to the problem of the story. The solution is like the conclusion of the story. So the best way to get ahead is to get started. Your task now is to start outlining your story. Remember to follow all directions, be creative, and do your best.